Okay. Hey, how's it going? My name's Alan, and I am so excited that you are interested in coming to live and work in Lusaka, Zambia. I think it's a great thing to be considering, and I'm excited to get to talk a little bit about what it was like and what my experience was like working at Special Hope. So at Special Hope, I was a cooperating teacher. My background is in special education. And so what I did primarily was work with the teachers and the students that were at the resource center, and some of our other centers as well, training the teachers and working alongside the students to help support them in with their different needs. Really enjoyed it, and it was just a really formative and extremely interesting and exciting experience. So let me tell you a little bit about it. Okay, so preparation. I was extremely nervous to move to a new country. I had no desire to move away from the United States, no desire to go to the continent of Africa at all, and was not really interested in going to work in a different country, and was really nervous, especially at the beginning when we were first living there and everything was really new and different. I had some experience traveling to do some short-term mission trips in other countries. However, I hadn't had any experience coming to Africa before, besides kind of a vision trip to come and see the place, and see Special Hope for a week before we committed to coming. The biggest advice I would give to somebody who is brand new is it is going to be intimidating to live in a different country, but it's not nearly as scary as you think it is. Living in Zambia and in Lusaka was a lot more normal than I originally kind of felt when I arrived. So when I first arrived, I was really scared. Everything was a big deal. Going to the grocery store or walking down the street or anything like that, I was like afraid I was going to get mugged or that I was going to have some big issue everywhere I went. But it is really not that big of a deal, and is after a little while you just get really used to it. It is different in a lot of ways, but in a lot of ways it's just life. You know, it's similar. You get used to it. You learn how to get around, and you feel comfortable pretty quickly, I think, as well. Especially if there's people that are helping you through that. So while I was still in the U.S., there was different things that I did to prepare, but nothing really prepares you, I think, to actually live in the different country. The books and things that we read were fairly helpful. There's one book in particular that I highly recommend. It's called African Friends and Money Matters, and I think that it really does a good job of explaining some of the different cultural just the cultural differences between the United States and places like Africa in general, and then also especially how it relates to money and finances. That book really was helpful to me, actually. But a lot of the other stuff was less so, or I did not get as much out of it personally. But mostly just the fundraising and the things like that. That's kind of the best you can do. I think it's tough to really prepare yourself too well. You sort of have to experience it. A lot of the actual things about getting ready related to like finding a place to live, preparing some of that, the people at Special Hope really helped us along with, and I would hope that they would also help you or help somebody new to find a place to stay, and some of the different things like that, arrange your flight plans, all that different stuff that when you haven't done it before, like you just aren't going to know or really be able to feasibly figure that stuff out on yourself, and you need help. So some things also about preparing. So some different things that, I don't know, like there's some stuff thinking about like what you pack or what you bring with you when you come. Just bring stuff that you like that will remind you of home is what I would say. Because most stuff you can get in Lusaka. There's not a lot of things that you'll need, like essentials for life that you have to bring. It's not like you need to like bring all your pots or bring your toilet paper, something silly like that, because there you have access to pretty much whatever you could need. So I would just encourage you to bring clothes that you like to wear and bring some stuff that reminds you of being home and is going to be comforting to you in the time that you're there. And that's different for everybody. Like I particularly had one blanket that I really love, and we brought that because it was, just a comfort to have it and to have it every day. And that was important. But everything else, some of the stuff we brought, I never used or touched or anything like that. So just bring things that you want to have there, not things that you really think you need, because a lot of the time, a lot of stuff you need, you can get. And then once you're there for a while, if there's stuff that you just can't find in Zambia, whenever you can have, there's lots of people that go back and forth all the time. I'm sure somebody can help you out and bring you something, as long as it's not too heavy. But what do people wear? Well, I just wore normal sorts of clothes. I mean, you kind of, at work, you wear slacks or pants. But I wore sometimes I wore this shirt, but I wore like a golf shirt, like a collared short sleeve shirt pretty much every day. And when you go out, you can wear whatever you want. I wore shoes or shorts or basketball shorts and tank tops or, the bright fluorescent pink Crocs that I got while I was in Zambia. It doesn't matter. People are going to stare at you probably because you're white anyways. So if you're wearing something that is sort of different, it's not going to be that big of a deal, to be honest. You kind of stick out. Not always in a bad way, but sometimes in a way that is noticeable. Some things thinking about talking to people around, like your supporters or family or friends who are not supportive of you when you come. I didn't have a lot of experience with that. My wife's family, some of her family members were not the most supportive or excited about it when we first told them. But I don't know, like if you can say, like, you can tell them I would just tell them why you want to go, why you think it's important, why you feel like the Lord is leading you in that direction. And if people don't support you or aren't happy that you're going to move to Zambia, there's only so much you can do, especially as an independent adult. It's a bit, it's easier when you're married because you kind of go off on your own anyways. If you have more direct connection maybe to your parents or something like that, especially if you're just out of school, out of college, and especially like if your parents help pay for your college, it could get a little dicey thinking about what's the best way to honor my parents in this situation and respect them, but also go where the Lord is leading me. But I will just say, if when you're thinking and considering if you want to move to Zambia, especially if you're soon out of college, there's nothing wrong with working in the U.S. for a few years before deciding to move. I think that can be pretty helpful, and also your experience will really help you when working at Special Hope. And also, I think there's a lot of wisdom in having having a job as a young person and learning some of those skills that are necessary for everyday work and relationships and professionalism and things like that, that are really important. And I just think it's important to develop some of those, and that's something to seriously consider if you're just coming out of school. But besides all of that, so back to thinking about what you're going to do. What will you do for fun when you're in Zambia? That's one of these questions. I mean, you can do whatever you want. There's so many things that you can do. There's movie theaters, there's malls, there's, national parks, which are incredible. You'll make friends and you'll do stuff with your friends. There's restaurants. I mean, mostly we went out to eat at restaurants. I went to the movies by myself usually because my wife doesn't like to go. And we hung out and swam in our pool. Those were like the three things that we loved to do. And we did them very often. And hang out with people. Like we saw people all the time. Or did those things with other people. Lots of fun stuff to do. So I wouldn't worry too much about what to do. There's plenty of things that are exciting that you can do. It's kind of what do you like to do. You can play sports. There's sports clubs and stuff like that if that's what you're into. And there's a pretty good like young professional scene. And then also great churches and really great kind of expat church community as well. So yeah, lots of options. So fundraising, the fun stuff. Let's get into it. What were your most successful fundraising ideas? I mean, honestly, this is not flashy or exciting or anything like that. But what my wife and I did is we just had in-person meetings with as many of our friends and people as we could. Yeah, we sent out letters and things like that. And so we got some different support from the letters. So we sent letters to kind of like intro, hey, we're going to Zambia. We want you to consider supporting us. And then we followed up everybody by calling them and then having meetings with them. And most of them are our friends. So it was pretty, it feels really scary, but it ends up being kind of fun because a lot of your friends love you and want to support you. So you sit down and you just get to have a meal or have coffee with your friend, which is fun. And everybody likes doing that. So we would just do that and then kind of say, hey, you got our letter. We're going to Zambia. We'd like you to consider supporting us financially while we're there. And, we obviously would also love your support through prayer and your support as a friend in continuing our relationship even while we're abroad. And yeah, it worked for us. Everybody's got kind of a different thing they'll tell you. But really, a lot of my thing is just in-person relationships, people to people, is the easiest way to raise money, I think, because the people that will end up supporting you most of the time are those that you have relationships with. And there's others that will, but a lot of the times those people and God will use lots of different sources for funding and things like that. But I really think that the people who are going to care the most about who you are, what you're doing, and want to support you in that are your friends and your family and people that you have a good relationship with. Some people will support you because they think that the work you're doing is particularly valuable, and a lot of people will support you because they know and they love you. And ideally, we do want them to be considering throughout the process supporting Special Hope as an organization. And that's the whole idea, is that the money is not for you. It is for your work, and the money is coming to support Special Hope Network in the sense that you are there to support Special Hope and to work there. And so that ultimately is where the money ends up. But a lot of people's motivations, I think, for actually giving money tend to revolve around they want to support you as their friend and as the person that they care about. But yeah, fundraising can be stressful. It's not always very fun. It was fun to get to spend time with my friends. It was always fun to have to get to meet with friends. So a lot of those, like the different phone calls to people you don't know as well, who you sent a letter to, are not always as fun. But that's just kind of a part of it. If you want to go and work in Zambia, then you're going to have to fundraise for this job. And if the Lord wants you to be there, then he'll provide the funds for you. If he doesn't want you to be there, he might not provide funds for you. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And if you're fundraising for 6 months or fundraising for a year and you just aren't anywhere close to where you need to be, I would just urge you to consider whether it really is where the Lord is calling you to. And if you still continue to think it is, then you need to trust in his timing as far as providing the funds for you to be able to get there. Because if God doesn't want you to go work in Zambia, he won't send you there and he won't provide for you to get there. If he does, he will. That's just how it works, I think. That's how God works. And he has a plan for what is going to happen in your life. And it's going to be okay. The plan that God has for you is a good one. And if that, if that involves moving to Zambia, then he's going to provide for the fundraising. If that involves staying where you are, finding a different job, he's going to provide an avenue and direction for that. God is faithful and will take care of the fundraising for you. I mean, honestly, that's the thing that made it least stressful for me, is a reminder of God's faithfulness, and also getting to enjoy spending time and an opportunity to just maintain these great relationships with your friends. Oh, organizational tips for tracking your money or funds. I mean, you got to figure out your own system. We just had an Excel spreadsheet and people's addresses. I mean, the thing that they have, the e-tapestry thing that they'll set you up with, if they're still doing that, will provide you at least with all of the names and addresses and stuff of the people once they actually go in and donate, which is really useful. And it is important, I think, always to just respond right after somebody donates to you or gives to you. Just say thank you, saw your donation, really appreciate it. But as far as tracking it, I mean, just do your best. Really, really do your best to try to keep track of everything, because you want to understand where you are at financially as far as fundraising goes. Because it just is good to keep track of it all. Because they'll help you to try to get a clear understanding, and some of the information that is provided is pretty useful as far as the specifics of how much money you've brought in total and things like that. And there's a clear kind of number that you need to get at, and there's a clear, this is where it's at, or this is how much I've brought in so far. But yeah, just keep track of it as best you can, because it really is good for your own peace of mind to know where you stand as far as funding goes, and whether you need to do some more work while you're still in the States, or whether you can feel confident about going. And they'll help you figure that out too. All right, so once you get to Zambia, very fun. I hope you've enjoyed listening to me so far. You've got a lot of these videos to watch probably. But arriving in Zambia, man, the first few days of living in Zambia were crazy. Just like, I hated it, to be honest. Not hated Zambia, but it was just stressful. Everything's brand new. You don't know what you're doing. It's like we went to all these stores in the first day or two, and I didn't even know what I needed to buy or wanted to buy. Every brand and option and thing is different. And, like we had the driver, Oscar, he was taking us around. I felt bad about making him wait or walk around the store with us and things like that. It was just overwhelming. So just take it easy, I would say. Your first few days, take it easy. Get some stuff that you need, but don't go crazy, and just try to relax and feel comfortable being where you are. So as far as cell phone stuff, that was also a big comfort to me, is getting that up and running. It's really easy. You just go to the Airtel store or wherever, and they can take you. And you get a SIM card. If you have a newer smartphone, so like anything iPhone 5 and above, or I'm sure the new Galaxies or whatever version, if you have an Android or something, if you have a newer smartphone, you just plug the SIM into your phone, and you just replace your SIM card, and it should prompt you with some stuff, and then you get onto the network, and then you buy these little cards with money on them, and you input the code. It's like *113 code pound send, and it puts money into your Airtel account, and then you use that money, you dial these other codes, so it's like *140 pound call, and then there's all these options, and then you want to pick all networks, which is 3 usually, at least it was when I was going, so 3, enter, and then you want to pick like a weekly or a monthly plan, and you just buy however many minutes you want. I only ever bought a weekly plan for like 6 kwacha, and then we renewed it because I did a lot of stuff on WhatsApp rather than phone calls and stuff. But maybe you want to buy a monthly. And then as far as you can buy data onto your phone really easily. So you go *575 pound, and this is what I did. Hopefully it's still there because this was the best deal. And then you go to Ikali best offer, which is like number 1 or something. And then it's a data pack, a monthly data pack, and it's for 100 kwacha for 15 gigabytes of data. And you can use a hotspot unlimited on that. Use it on your phone, whatever. So buying those data packs is what you want to do. Don't just put money on your account and use it, because it'll go by like that and you'll get no use out of it. Buy the packs, and if you don't know how to do that, ask somebody who's there. They can help you. Moving into your house, people helped us find furniture on the internet. Expat Zambia, and Zambia leaving and arriving, or buying it from a compound somewhere or something like that. You don't have to buy expensive furniture. You can if you want, but you don't have to. People can help take you to the places where you buy the furniture, but also don't feel like you need to buy all your furniture all at once. Like, it will take you time to figure out what you want. So just buy a chair that you like, sit in it for a while, and then if you can buy something else later once you feel more comfortable. Don't feel like you have to do everything all at once. Driving, I didn't have a problem with driving, but some people do. If you don't know how to drive a manual transmission or a stick shift, I would try to learn, because that's helpful. But you don't necessarily have to. And driving on the opposite side is a little freaky for a while. And it's mostly with turning. I kept always trying to turn into the wrong lane. So just take your time. You'll figure it out. It becomes very natural. And now I can switch back and forth easily without even thinking about it. Finding a car was a bit of a pain, because most of the cars there are not great, and it's hard to find people who are going to really give you a good, honest opinion, not because necessarily they're being dishonest, but because they just might not think that you cared about some things. In Zambia, in lots of places in Africa, they tend to go along the model of you use it until it breaks, or drive your car until it breaks, rather than fix it before it breaks. So most of the time, in my experience, the mechanic doesn't necessarily say, oh, you're going to need to replace this thing in 3 months. It's more so like, I'll replace this thing that's broken and then give you back the car. When the next thing breaks, come back to me. So yeah, I don't know. I would ask for help with somebody else that's there. I don't have a lot of good advice about buying a car, which is a little bit stressful because it's a big purchase, and it just generally is fairly expensive to own a vehicle in Zambia, because gas is also fairly expensive there. A lot more expensive than America. How did you find friends? We found friends through church. So we went to a church called Lusaka Community Church. It's an amazing church. We originally thought about going to church at an all-Zambian, sort of more local church, and ended up in this church that was a lot more expats, because we ended up just feeling comfortable and enjoying it and finding great community there. You can find great community elsewhere, but it sometimes is more difficult, and it's nice to have a place where you can find community and get along well, and we made tons of really fast friends from going to church at that church. Grocery shopping is easy. You go to the store, shop right, wherever. It's basically the same thing as Kroger. It's awesome. I love ShopRite. You should definitely go there. They have really cool stuff there usually. It looks different, but it's not that different. It's sort of a different version. You can find a lot of stuff that you need and want, especially nowadays at ShopRite. How did I cook? You don't. I didn't eat. I eat a lot. I like going out for fast food, and I like eating quick meals, like frozen stuff or whatever. Back before I moved to Zambia, you don't really do that as much because it's more of a pain, and it's not really that convenient. And so you just cook food. You eat vegetables, and you buy what you want to eat, and you make stuff with it. It's not that big of a deal. It's just like cooking. If you know how to cook, you can cook. If you don't know how to cook, you're going to need to learn how to cook something. When did it start to feel like home? I don't know if it ever necessarily started to feel like home, but it was... I got comfortable with it after like probably 4 months or so. Felt like pretty confident in most of the stuff that I did. Last few questions. Thanks for bearing with us for this whole time. Okay. Which doctor did I go to? We went to a great doctor nearby. He's called Dr. Birkland. I don't think he's still practicing at that place anymore. I don't even remember the name. It was near Roma. Holly can tell you about it. Her kids went there too. Most of the doctors are fine. Like, if you go to one of those clinics or things like that, you'll find a pretty good doctor. And Dr. Birkland was really great. But I'm sure other people like Holly and Eric or others around, any expats really can recommend to you a good doctor. Especially any expat who has been there for any amount of time. I was taken care of at the doctor. I barely ever went. Like, I never got sick in Africa. I never got sick from the food, nothing like that. And I only went to the doctor like once or twice for unrelated things. Like I burned myself once on accident, so I had to go. But I never got sick. Some people get sick, obviously, but I just didn't. Yes, traveling is awesome. Awesome in Zambia. You should definitely try to travel. I was very nervous about trying to leave the city for a long time. I didn't want to. But once I did, it was incredible. We went down to Livingston. Definitely go there. Definitely go to South Luangwa National Park. It's a bit more expensive and further away, but save up some money. Make a plan to go there and spend some time and energy there because it is worth it for sure. Yeah, try to go with friends if you're there by yourself. I just went with my wife because that's an easy one. Actually, we went with friends to Livingston and it was great. Driving is not as big of a deal as you think. So yeah. Don't be too scared of it. I was, but you don't have to be. I don't know. Leave fairly, like take a break to get out of the city as often as you can or want to. It's nice to be able to get away some. Some cultural differences. Oh, I love Zambians and I love Zambian culture. Some of the stuff that can be frustrating is they tend to be non-confrontational, which you think, oh, that's a good thing. But in the sense that a lot of people will just sort of tell you what you want to hear instead of telling you something they know you won't want to hear. And so they say something to sort of save face or make themselves look good, even if it's not necessarily true, because they know that that's what you want to hear. And so that can be a bit difficult to get at the truth or exactly like what is going on in a situation, but you work it out. And then it just is great. People are super friendly and very nice in Zambia, and it is a really nice place to live. That's my cat from Zambia. Got that cat in Zambia, actually. Really nice place to live, and people are very communal. Everybody is happy to share with one another. I loved sharing with people, and they shared with me. It was just great. You share your stuff. It's really fun. Like I would buy candy from the store, and I'd like go and share it with different people, and they loved it because it was sometimes more expensive. So they might not necessarily buy it themselves all the time, but they enjoyed it when I would share it. And then they'd share their like things that they make, a bunch of different Zambian traditional food, or just like whatever, their bread and egg sandwich in the morning, or they'll pick a mango and we'd split it, or stuff like that. It's really fun. Love that. People are just really nice and really pretty easy to get along with. They love a lot of the people that we worked with, just loved having fun. Even though during training and some of the meetings and stuff, they're more serious and stoic, they also really love to have fun and laugh and just do great things. So great stuff. I love the way that people take care of one another. It really is something that's different and special. It's a much more communal sort of environment rather than individualist or individualistic, and that is something that's very neat to me. I wish America was more like it, to be honest. Oh, I love that you greet everybody. I actually hate it because I don't like talking to people the first thing in the morning, but I love that every time you see somebody for the first time in the day, it's like culturally the custom, you like greet them. You just say good morning, which is just funny, and I think it's really nice. But even though it's annoying, because when it's 7:30, I'm not that chipper personally, but maybe you're different. What was the most difficult reality to adjust to? It is very difficult to know that there's so many people that live in such poverty when you don't have to. And it is very difficult to know that the people that you work with and the people that you see every day and interact with are living at a small fraction of the amount of money that you live on, and you are living on a small fraction of the money that many Americans live on. And it is shocking to understand that so many people in the world live with so little money. And what's good about that is that you realize that they're content. Like people can be content. That just is the reality. Everybody is comparing themselves to the person that's, above and below them. Like, I look at people and say, that person has more than me. Wouldn't it be nice if I could have that car that he has, or like that house that they live in? But I feel good about the fact that I don't have to live like those people over there. My stuff is nicer than theirs. So in Zambia, you kind of, in a lot of ways, are the person people would look to that's like, wow, that's nice. You have a lot of stuff. You have a lot of privilege and money and resources. And that is just different, because most people in America tend to think of themselves as like middle class or like lower middle. Like most people think that they don't have a lot of stuff, or like they didn't grow up with money, things like that. But the reality is you did, and you are. Like even just where I am now, like it's beautiful. This is a great house, and it's far nicer than most places that you would find in Zambia. And it's not like people are fine and happy and living well in the places that they are, in the compounds and things like that, for the most part. But it's shocking, just like the difference. And it is hard for me to understand that just because I'm an American, I get paid more and live a better life, or quote unquote better, live with more resources only because of being an American. obviously your education and all of these things contribute to those kinds of deals. You had to move across the world to get this job, and your safety and all of that. It's important. Like, your salary is important, but it just is crazy to know that. And I'll finish here shortly. To unwind on stressful days, I just watch YouTube videos, to be honest with you, or read my book. Or Sarah and I would hang out by the pool. And what was stressful? There was not a lot of things that were very stressful to me about living in Zambia. Being a teacher in the U.S. was 10 times as stressful as my job in Zambia. So yeah, I don't know. Things that make you stressed are going to continue to make you stressed probably. But most of the things that made me stressed were not present in the job that I had. And I was very rarely... So thinking about safety, this is my last real point. That's the last question about living in Zambia. Zambia was very safe. I don't think there were really any times that I was in a position that I was unsafe that I was aware of. There were some times where I felt unsafe because of it's different. Like when you're downtown and it's packed and there's stuff everywhere, you feel like unsafe, especially if you're by yourself. But it's more so you feel uncomfortable, not necessarily, and that makes you feel unsafe. Most places you are going to be safe. The places where you would not feel safe, you should avoid. And people can tell you what that is. Mostly, I did not like being out after dark. That's when I felt unsafe because I didn't want my car to break down and be stuck outside in the middle of the night. So I just avoided as much as possible going out at night, or always tried to ride with other people. But beyond that, I mean, I certainly felt uncomfortable and unsafe walking around or different things like that. But there was very few times that I think I actually was anywhere that I would potentially get into trouble. If you live, your neighborhood's probably going to be safe where you live. If you're not walking around outside after dark, which I even did, and it's fine. It's not a good idea, but, I did it and turned out okay. I wouldn't recommend it. But yeah, just sort of try to stay away from some places. Don't drive too many places, like deep in a compound if you're by yourself. As long as you stay with other people and go places where you're pretty familiar with, you'll be fine. So, that's sort of my general life motto, but also my advice to you about living and moving in Zambia. You'll be fine. Whether you decide to go and feel the Lord's call to take you there, or if you decide to stay, once you get there and start your work and figure it out, it's going to be okay. God will provide for you and take care of you. The people there will help take care of you, and your supporters back home will also take care of you. So I know it's crazy and scary, and I had a lot of nerves and anxiety around the move, especially. Lots of unknowns, but I promise you it will be okay. You'll get used to it. It will feel uncomfortable for a long time, and then at the end, it will feel better. I love Zambia, loved living there, and am sad. I miss it almost every day. I'm glad to be back in the U.S., but I really miss my time and my people back in Zambia. So, hope that was helpful. Sorry it's long, but I'm sure all of these videos will be pretty long. Good luck, and may the Lord guide you in your decisions.